and taking a look here at QuickBooks Point of Sale Reports. Anybody have any questions to start off? No? All right. So I will open up my point of sale here. In point of sale, we can get to reports in 3 different ways. We can get to reports from the blue button over here on the home screen. We can get to reports from the navigator on the home screen. Or we can get to reports by going up to the menu bar, clicking on reports, and picking the area that we want to take a look at. You can see that we can go to sales, and we have several different sales reports we can run. We can look at our best and worst sellers, our most common returns. We can look at an item summary, which is a summary of the items we've sold. We can look at a detail report, which shows us the items we've sold and the receipt that they were sold on. We can take a look at a department summary, a style summary, a vendor summary, anything that may have a promo code attached to it. We can take a look at discounts that we've given on sale. We can do a date comparison, looking at a comparison between sales in 2 different date ranges. We can take a look at any sales we may have sold using a mobile device. We can take a look at our sales in the version of a graph. We can take a look at our sales over time as well. Yes, Anna, you have a question. Okay. I hate it when I do something silly like that. Now you should be able to see everything. So you should be able to see the home screen, the report button over here in the blue button, the report button in the navigator, as well as reports up on the menu bar, the various types of reports we can run, and the various reports that are available under the sales menu. We also have cash flow reports, which is our X outs and Z outs, and any payouts you may have made. We have payments, which includes a payment summary, which shows you the different types of payments that have been made. We can look at a single day, we can look at a month, or whatever time range you want to look at those payments by. We have our customers. You can take a look at a list of your customers. You can take a look at the sales by customer. You can take a look at the various orders that you may have outstanding, layaways, sales orders, work orders. We can take a look at an items list. We can look at a summary of our items by department or vendor. We can look at a summary with activity. That report shows us a list of all the items that we currently have in stock, as well as what items were sold during whatever time period that we might specify. We can take a look at an item list, just a full list of all of our items. Under the items menu, we can also look at any adjustments that we've made. We can look at quantity adjustments or cost adjustments. Under our purchasing menu, we have a list of anything that we may have on order. We can look at a summary of what we have on order, a detail, which shows us each individual purchase order that we have, as well as what's on it, or cash requirements, which shows us each vendor and when we can expect to need to pay that vendor and how much during that particular time period. We've got an employee menu, which shows us any commissions employees may have earned, assuming that you're paying commission to your employees. Yes.
Got this all screwed up.
Yeah. If you're not paying commissions, then you won't see those commissions. We also have an employee sales report, which shows us the sales an employee has made, as well as a sales graph of employee sales. We can also take a look at employee timesheets, and we can look at when employees have clocked in and out. We can look at detail of each clock in and out, or a summary of the total time that employees were clocked in for during a period of time that we specify. Financial exchange shows us exchange reports we have between point of sale and accounting. And finally, memorized reports, and any special reports we may have created for running reports that we want to run all the time that are slightly different than the standard report. All right, so we want to start out by taking a look at some of our sales reports. If we take a look at our best and worst sellers, it will generate a list of our best and worst sellers during whatever time period you choose. I'm going to change my time period to this year to date. No, not this week. This year to date. I'll apply that date range, and we can see what our best sellers are. We're looking at them by quantity of items sold. We could also look at them by the retail price. We can look at worst, and we can look at best. Just depends on which way the arrow is pointing. If the little arrow is pointing up, then we're looking at our worst. If the arrow is pointing down, then we're looking at our best. I can have more than one report open simultaneously. If I go over here to all reports and I want to take a look at my most common returns, I can choose that. And again, I can choose this year to date. And it shows me that this Magic Spring is my most common return. I had one return. If I'm done with a report, I can click the little red X up here at the top, and I will close out of that particular report. Here under my sales reports, I could also choose an item summary. And again, I want to choose this year to date. And that will show me a summary of my sales. I am sorted by department. I could also click on the little blue ball in front of vendor and resort by vendor. I am subtotaling by what I am sorted by. If I went up here to modify, I could go to add or remove columns. I could uncheck the subtotal. And then if I save and run, it will get rid of that subtotal, and I no longer see the subtotal, whether I'm looking at it by vendor or by department. If I just wanted department, did not want vendor to be part of my sort, I could go up here and I could modify it. And I could remove the vendor from my columns. Now I just have departments, and I don't get the vendor. If I only wanted department, didn't care about the details of what the items were, I could also modify it again. I could remove the item name, size, and attribute. And then I get just the total items sold in each department, which, by the way, is the default setting for that report. If I go down here to revert, it reverts the setting of that report to the default. And so now you can see I got back my department, I got back my vendor, I got back the item name, and we're sorted again by department with the subtotaling turned back on. And we're looking at sales this month. I could take a look at my detail, and that's going to show me my individual sales receipts. If I click expand up here at the top, or if I click on the little plus in front of one of the dates, it'll show me what was purchased on that particular receipt. If I click expand, it'll show me what was purchased on each receipt. I can click collapse and hide the details and just see the overall sales. If I want to look at a date comparison report, I could select that. That will show me my dates. I'm looking at this year month to date versus last year month to date. And if I say run, it'll show me that last year was really horribly boring. If I change my last year to say last month, and I refresh my report, now we can see we have the April sales versus March sales. So I can tweak exactly what I'm looking at. All right. If I close this report and reopen that same report again, it's going to look exactly the way it did when I closed it. You can say I'm looking at this month versus last month. Because you may have noticed that when I modified that report and I went to make a change, and I change it to go back to February, it either just says run, but which means that there's no options. And so when I go to rerun it, it's going to come up as the same as I got last time. Usually what you have is an option to either save it or run it or both, but you don't have any other options available to you. So you don't have a lot of things you can choose to do. Down here under graphs, I could look at merchandise that was sold. I can again pick a date range. And it shows me a graph of what I've sold. It shows me each department because we are looking at by department. I can click on the little pull down beside department. I could change to vendor, and I see the graph for sales by vendor. You see on our legend over here, it tells us the value of each of my bars. I could even do it by item name, and I would get the items that were actually sold. So I can choose department, vendor, item name, item description, attributes, sizes. I can look at it by the extended price, quantity, cost. So if I want to see how many I sold, then I see how many of each item I sold. So I can choose whichever way I would like to look at that particular report. And I have several different options available to me. Under sales reports, I can do sales over time. Sales over time, once you have enough data in your system, sales over time can be a neat little report. It shows you the times of day that you are the busiest. You can look at it by hour of the day. You could look at it by month. You could look at it by week, by day. By day shows you which days of the week you are the busiest. And you can choose to evaluate it by whatever makes the most sense for you. And again, our legend shows us how many sales we had during that particular time period. You can use this sales over time to help you plan your staffing. If you're looking at it by hour of the day and you're looking at a big enough time period, then you can see what hours of the day tend to be the busiest. And you can look at it over here by number of receipts or dollars, whichever makes the most sense to you. And you can see which times of the day are the busiest and make sure you've got enough staff to cover that time of day. When you're looking at it by day, then you can see which day of the week do I need to have the most people covering things. So it gives you a couple of ways to help plot what you need for staffing, and it's a neat little report. A discount summary report will show you any receipts or any discount types you may have given during the course of the time period you're looking at. So we can see here I have a multi-discount for a total of $1.80. My cash drawer reports are my X out, Z out, or a payout list. You can run them from here, or you can run the X out, Z out by using the end of day on the home screen or in the blue buttons of your computer. Payments allows you to look at things like a payment summary. The payment summary will show you the individual sales on the individual days that you have had sales. And so you can see the different days that I've had sales. You can see the amount of cash that was done on that day, the amount of debit card, the amount of credit cards, the amount that was done on an account, the amount that was done on gift cards or gift certificates, and the amount that was done by check. You can see I have just way too many sales because I use mine primarily for demo or for testing things, so I don't get a lot of sales in my system. You can also look at, if you're looking at gift certificates or gift cards, you can take a look at any gift certificates you may have outstanding. And it will show you a list of your gift certificates. And if you sort them by gift certificate number, you can see if that gift certificate has a balance on it or if it has been used. These all indicate that they were used. I can see this one was used back in December of 2008, but I don't see the purchase of it. When you use the gift certificate or gift card, it shows up as a positive number. When you sell a gift certificate or gift card, it shows up as a negative number. And I don't have any gift cards to look at. I could also look at a list of checks, credit cards, or debit cards that were done. If I look at a list of credit cards, I get something that looks kind of like that. It shows me what receipt number the card was used on. And if I had a card number, it would show me the last four numbers and the amount of the sale. Under customers, we can do a list of our customers. That will show us a list of all of our customers. This is a place you can definitely do some modifications. We can go up to modify. We can add or remove columns. We could add the customer's email to this report. I said we could add the customer's email. Thank you, computer. We could also add their account balance to see if they have an account balance. If I save and run that, we get the account balances for anybody. We also get emails for anybody who may have given us an email. Also under customers, we can take a look at customer sales. And we can see each customer, and we can see the sales that that customer made, and we can see the quantity of items that they purchased as well. If I point at one of them, you see we get the little magnifying glass. That means I can double click on it and zoom in, and it will break down and show me exactly what items that particular customer has bought. All right. We could look at any outstanding orders we had. If you're using the rewards program, you can also look at who is part of your rewards program, and you can look at a history of your rewards program to show when those rewards were used and who used it. Under our items list, a summary of our items will show us what departments we have and how many items we have in that particular department, anything that may be on order, and the value of the items in that department, both retail and cost. Actually, cost and retail. We could also look at the summary with activity, and that will show us not only what items we have in stock, but it also shows us how many we've sold. The blank one here would be a miscellaneous item that was sold. And we can see the retail. If I wanted to, I could modify this report by adding a cost column to it. I can change so that quantity appears first. I can save and run that. Now I get how many I have, what my estimated retail value is, and my cost. For my sales, I get my retail and cost. And I can come down and I can see here my apparel department. I can see I have 272 items in stock, and I have one item that was sold so far this year. Here under books, I can see that I've sold 4 books. And I got 909 of them in stock. So, depending on where I look, depends on what I see for information. That report can be handy for planning what you need to reorder. The inventory valuation report allows you to see what your inventory was at any particular time in the history of the system. If you run the inventory valuation report, you get to choose a date. And if I say I want to see what my inventory was on January 1st, and I run that report, it will show me what my inventory was on January 1st. And we can scroll off down here to the end of the list. And we get the total value of the inventory at $11,210. If I run an inventory summary or inventory list report, those are going to show me the value of my inventory at the moment. And so if I scroll to the bottom of that list, we can see that my inventory value right now is $32,837. So I can look at where it was on January 1 or where it is today. Either way. The inventory valuation can be handy to see what you had at some time in the past. I can look at any adjustments I may have made. I can do a quantity adjustment summary report, and that can show me the adjustments I have made this year. And it'll show a list of all the adjustments. It shows what the item number was that was adjusted. And it tells me how many items I adjusted. If I wanted to see what else I could add to it, I can go to my add or remove columns, and I can look at what other information would be available to add to this report. The one thing that I cannot add to this one is the value of that adjustment. I can see how many items, but not the value. If I want to see the value, I would need to choose the quantity detail report. The quantity detail report will allow me to see the value. Now this one shows me each individual adjustment, but again, I don't see the value, but I can go up here to modify. I can go to add or remove columns, and I can add the value change. And when I run that, now I see what the dollar amount is of each of those adjustments. I also see the reason for that adjustment. I can see on these here, the items were edited, thereby changing those quantities. And these here were physical inventories. And that adjusted the quantity and the value of my inventory when I did those physicals. Cost adjustments you don't have very often, and so I don't expect to see too much when I run a cost adjustment, and I don't have a whole lot in cost adjustment. Purchasing allows me to see what I have ordered. I can look at a summary of what I might have on order, and it shows me any outstanding purchase orders that I may have. I can double click on it, which will take me to a purchase order detail. I can then expand out that purchase order, and I can see exactly what items are ordered on that particular purchase order. if when you're setting up a purchase order, if you put information about due dates, you can run a cash requirements report, and that will show you what date you can expect to need money to pay for those purchase orders. I can see the one here from Thai Company is due now. I only had the one purchase order, so I don't see any scheduled to come up in the near future. Receiving will show me what I have received, and I can see what I received from what vendor. This is between 10/14 and 3/4, a ways in the past. If I change it to this year to date, I haven't received anything this year. So things have been pretty slow in the receiving department. Under my employees, that part's going to be pretty boring too. If I take a look at employee sales, and I look at them for this year, I see the only employee I've got that sold anything was sysadmin. So no other employees have logged in to sell anything. So an employee graph would be horribly boring. But I can see that I had 19 different items that were sold. And I can see the value of the sales and the cost of the items, as well as what the margin was that I made on those sales. And if I had more employees signed in and making sales, I would see that breakdown in that information. I'm almost certain no one is clocked in and out, especially this week. And if I run my timesheet, it shows me no clock in and out. If I do time clock detail, that will show me all of my clock in and outs. And because it's just the sysadmin, no one's clocked in and out. Financial exchange would show me when data was exchanged between point of sale and accounting. And so it shows me my exchanges and what the receipt numbers were of what was exchanged. And I can expand that out to see the details. I can also look at vouchers and memos, as well as customers and vendors. Memorize reports let you modify a report so that you can see what you want to see. And then instead of having to recreate that every time you want to do it, you can rerun it whenever you would like. So if we pick sales summary, cost of goods, and we pick this year to date, and we run that, it will show us that report. The cost of goods is our cost report. Now that I have changed this report, if I close it and rerun it, it's going to be the same date range I ran it for last time. Because whenever you modify a report, it remembers it and runs it the way you ran it the previous time, which sometimes can mess you up when you're running a normal report and you go to run something. You're running a item summary report, and you choose a date range that you want to run, and it will show you what happened during that date range. But if you change that date range, or if you come up here and modify the report and add a filter and you filter something in or out, like receipt types here, or if you filter it for a vendor or a department, that's what's going to happen next time you run that report. So if I were to go down here to my departments, I hate it when I lose my departments. There they are. And I click on the little page symbol. It shows me a list of all my departments. If I were to pick one of the departments, or even a couple of the departments, like if I pick the building sets department, and I pick puzzles, and I say OK, notice my only option here is to save, and I run it, I get my building sets and my puzzles. If I close that report and I rerun it, I'm going to get the same result. If for some reason I really wanted to run that report a lot, I could go up here to I want to, memorize the report, give it a name that made it unique, and then it will go to that memorized list, and I can rerun it all I want. Then it won't change my main report. It will let my standard report become a standard report. So if we save this, we memorize this report, we call it item summary test, and we say OK. Then, if I close out of here, I go to memorize reports, I can find that item summary test report. And I can run that. And I get my filter departments. If I go to all reports and I choose my item summary report, it's still filtered. But I can go to modify, I can revert it back to the standard report. I can run it, and I get the full standard report. Or I can run the memorized report, and I get my memorized version of that report. So I can have either one available to me. And if I had made that modification and saved it before I closed it the first time, it would have just gave me back my normal report again. I wouldn't have had to revert it back to normal. Any questions on basic report options? No? All right. So, next thing I want to do is look at creating a report from scratch. I can go to Overview. I can go to Create a Report. And I can create a sales report, a customer report, inventory, purchasing, or employees. I almost never use this because I can usually find one of the pre-created reports and modify it just as easier than creating one from scratch. If I choose a sales report and go next, the options I get are going to be the same options I get from the existing reports. I can do summarized sales. I can do a summarized sales graph, detailed sales, sales tax collected, or mobile sales. So if I choose that I want to do a summarize, then over here I choose what do I want to organize it by item, by style, department, vendor, customer. So if I want to organize it by vendor, then I can choose what date range and all I want to look at. So I can summarize by vendor, sales, department, or whatever. And I go next. And when I run that report, I get a graph that is summarized by department. And so I get my list of departments that I've had sales in. I could memorize that report if I wanted to be able to rerun it again in the future. I find it easier than doing that to simply go to my sales graph and then modify my existing sales graph to show me what I want. So I simply adjust this. I can change the bars. I can change the graph from bars or to a pie graph. So I can change the type of graph I want to run. I could also change the date range that I want to run. And I get basically the same graph I had before, depending on what I sort it by. All right. That is reports. Any questions on running reports? No? All right. Well, if you have any questions, anything comes up, you need any help working with reports, just give us a call, 916-368-1070, or drop us an email at tech@bighairydog.com, or you can drop me an email directly at darrellf@bighairydog.com. That's DARRELLF@bighairydog.com. So everybody have a marvelous one, and we will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.